Well, good afternoon to everybody who stayed. And of course, when I got here, I saw David and congratulated him as usual. I got the Christmas card and saw the beautiful children on it. David told me, he said, Larry, now I've got two speeches here. Now, are you going to be nice? Which one am I going to have to use? Well, then he changed up on me and he decided to read them both. But that's all right. I understand. Sometimes when you're in charge, you want to hear yourself talk. But I want to. What I want to do is, first of all, thank you for coming and the great work you do. I see David and my good friend, Representative Tim Moffitt, sitting there. Tim, wave, please. And certainly, David owes him a great debt of gratitude, because I think you read all 46 pages of that document he's had published to go around the state. So I think that we've kind of got it. Everybody who didn't get it, you got the summary. But it's important that you believe in what you're doing. And I give credit to David and to everyone else on his side of the aisle, because they do believe in what they're doing. We all have the best interests of North Carolina at heart. And I want to thank your board of directors for the hard work they do. I know it's a job without great reward other than the good work that you do. And you understand how important what you do is to the state of North Carolina. A few things were said about issues behind us. How did we get here? And of course, you understand, if you continue to look in the rearview mirror, you're going to run into something. So my daddy told me, he said, look, son, you can fake effort, but you can't fake results. At some point in time, you will have to produce something to show for that time you spent. So again, I want to thank the board of directors. I won't name all of them. I said last year when I spoke here that your organization is great in a large part because of the business members that you have, and encourage that there be more business members on the board so that you can have more input as business members. Lobbyists are great here in Raleigh. They provide us a lot of great information, but it's also helpful to have in that room as many businesses from across the state as you can have. So I encourage you to continue to recruit and have folks be involved. Now, most of you know that Time named their Person of the Year. And they named Pope Francis after only 9 months on the job. And he's the Time magazine Person of the Year. And here's what they said. They said, for pulling the papacy out of the palace and into the streets, for committing the world's largest faith to confronting its deepest needs, and for balancing judgment with mercy. Now, I don't know for how many of you that sounds like your representative in the House or the Senate, or I don't know if you can name anybody in North Carolina government that that describes for you. But we do have a large task ahead of us. And I think we all have fallen short of what we would have promised or hoped to achieve over the period of time. But we're at a tipping point. And the question is, which way are we going to go? Which way are we going to take this state? A lot of us feel public education has been under assault. And for someone like me who's been to many schools and who's from a city in the Triangle, education is very important. Wife's a teacher, daughter's a teacher, have grandkids. Education is very important. And I would imagine to all of you who have employees, who have coworkers, who have families, who have children, education is important. Now, we talk about this jewel of a public university system we have, and once again, as has been the case for the past 13 years, yes, 13 years, the best education value in the United States in the public university system, again, is the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So this didn't just happen within the last 3 years, and I know you always want to claim credit for things when you're in charge and deny responsibility when you're not. This is the 13th time over the last 13 years. Now, let's talk about North Carolina. There's a question about are businesses coming here and why? Well, you really need to understand that businesses have come to North Carolina and continue to come, and businesses get started because of all of the infrastructure that's wrapped around them. It's not just a tax rate. It's not just a tax rate. It's what you as citizens have been willing to invest in this community and in this state that makes them come here. And so if you go back and review Site Selection Magazine and many of the others, over the past 10 years, North Carolina's been in the top 1, 2, or 3% of, or in the first, second, or third position. And so this is nothing new for someone to say North Carolina is the place to come. And it's certainly not true that the only reason people are coming here is because of the taxes. If it wasn't for that great university system we just talked about, if it wasn't for the great health care available, if it wasn't for the great minds and intellectual capital we create, they wouldn't come here. And so, yes, we want to fix the tax rate, but we also want to maintain this great state and the infrastructure we wrap around you as businesses. And so we have to ask you to help us in that. The biggest job creation program we had, and jobs are paramount in North Carolina, the biggest job creation program we had a chance to have in North Carolina this past session was Medicaid expansion. And we decided not to do it. Senator Nesbitt already talked about the fact we're paying for it whether we get it or not. And I'm sure you all have heard this story that you may not get all you pay for, but you pay for all you get. Well, we've got a different twist on it now. We're paying for what everybody else gets, and we're not getting anything that we paid for on that issue. And so what happens with that? Why is it important? 25,000 plus jobs over 3 years at no additional cost to North Carolina taxpayers. Why is that important? Why is having 25,000 jobs that important? Well, first of all, we don't have another program or opportunity to get that many at one time at no additional cost. Didn't have to give them an extra tax incentive, didn't have to build them a road, didn't have to do anything. Just say, yes, we want to do it. Now, what else does that do? It says 25,000 North Carolinians who aren't currently employed will get a skill, will get training, will pay into our tax base, and by the end of that third year, when we start paying 10% and the federal government is only giving us back 90% of the cost, we will have generated excess revenues to the state. So that's why it's important, just from a financial calculus. Now, for us to say everybody else has it right, we have it wrong, but we're going to continue to march to our own song. I think we have to look at it again. So let me make this prediction to you because it's real easy to calculate and figure. You know, we deal with policy a lot of time, and then we deal with politics. So right now, we're making this decision based on politics. Policy is going to creep in and say, you can't keep doing something that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense under your own calculations, doesn't make sense in the minds of the voting public. So by 2016, guess what? We will have figured it out to the point that we have those jobs in North Carolina and we've changed our position. Now, how we migrate there, I don't know. Let's talk about something else that's happening because, again, that's the future I'm talking about. That's where we're going. We're going to get those jobs. We're going to have that revenue in North Carolina. We're going to have that additional revenue. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Let's talk about these pay raises for teachers. Yes, I think Representative Lewis indicated. No pay raise on this budget cycle except the promise was held out that we've got some money that we'll give to you teachers. And of course, you got to be nice. Can't complain too much. Got to kind of fly under the radar, and we'll see if we can get you a little raise. Now, that raise is not going to carry us anywhere as regards our rating nationally. It's going to be a very small raise. It'll be symbolic, and that's what we'll do with our teachers. They'll be the political football. They'll get a symbolic raise, and we hope they'll forget where they really rank nationally. But remember this, they know, and that's why we have so many teachers leaving our state. 13,000, almost 14,000 teachers left the teaching profession in North Carolina last year. Those who could retire early, retired early. Those who could go to another state, went to another state. Those who could get another job teaching, making a little bit more money, left teaching. So when you talk about a university system that's the crown jewel that attracts businesses, a community college system that attracts businesses, a public education system that trains your workers, it's your responsibility to weigh in on this and say, we have to protect our education system. I'm gonna skip a few things that people have said already, but I do want to make it perfectly clear to you. We've trusted the judgment of the people of North Carolina. And sometimes they vote us in, sometimes they vote us out. It's their government, it's their state, it's their will. When they vote you in, you have an obligation to them. And when they vote you out, you've got an obligation to respect their will. And so we respect their will. One last thing, and I want to talk about startup qualified business tax credit. That is key because, especially in this area and in technology, startup businesses generate many jobs, patents, et cetera. And again, this question of intellectual capital and the battle we're fighting that we're currently competing in requires that we get someone to commercialize what we have developed and come up with. That qualified business tax credit allowed a 25% investment tax benefit to those who would take the risk of commercializing these ideas. Under this current tax plan, that's something that was lost. And that will, of course, translate into lost jobs and lost business opportunities in North Carolina. And so as we go forward, those type investments in our future have to be made, and you have to stand up as an organization and be involved and help us, because we largely respond to what you tell us is important to you. It is on your shoulders. You've done a great job, but now more than ever, we're at that tipping point, and we need you to be involved. Now, this new tax plan we talked about, I won't go through all the folks who pay for it. Again, you may not get all you pay for, but you're gonna pay for all you get. Keep in mind, your customers, your workers, your family members, your community members, all are affected by this. And if you don't have customers, if you don't have workers, if your community can't survive, what do you have? We're gonna have a reduction in revenue available to the state of North Carolina that's gonna have to be made up. And so you know what they say, everybody wants to come to the party, but no one wants to stay and clean up. We need to make sure we have balance in what we do and understand we're not gonna get all we pay for, but we are gonna pay for all we get. I hope you have a great holiday. I thank you for everything you've done for the state of North Carolina, and be safe in what you do. We need you to come back and help us. Thank you.